Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. My name's Andrew. So excited today that we do have an amazing sponsor for this video. So we're going to take a quick break and hear what they have to say. If you're serious about breaking the tech, even with zero experience, you got to check out the IT Career Accelerator. It's the #1 community built for aspiring IT professionals, backed with real guidance from industry pros who've been exactly where you are. You'll get one-on-one mentorship, proven resume templates, interview scripts, live career workshops, and a private forum where you can get your questions answered in real time. No endless guessing, no months of trial and error, just a clear roadmap for your first IT job or your next promotion. If you're ready to finally land that you're hired email, head over to itcareeraccelerator.com and join the community that's helping people break in the tech every single day. Check the link below. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Andrew. So excited to have back on the channel. We did a series a bit ago, reference breaking into cyber, where Alex kind of got to share his story on getting into cyber via through the military, becoming a 17 Charlie or a cyber operations specialist in the Army Reserve. And we had a lot of good feedback and questions on how to become a 17 Charlie. So I was so happy to kind of reach back out to Alex and see if he'd be willing to hop on to kind of go a little bit more in details of what that process looked like. Obviously, we're going to be very oriented on the Army Reserves because that's what Alex and I are both in, but how he went about it, who he contacted, and so much more. So welcoming back to the channel is Alex Householder, who is a current 17 Charlie with the Army Reserves, here with CPT 185, my beloved CPT. And yeah, Alex, so glad to have you back on the channel. How's it going?
It's going great. So I know we mentioned last time about me starting, my first job here in the civilian sector for cyber, and I did get it. I work with Leidos now as a cybersecurity analyst. Great company. Definitely would recommend if anyone is going to work for a company that they should go with Leidos. The benefits are really nice, and the work culture is pretty amazing.
Awesome, Alex. And I know we mentioned I knew you wouldn't be open on the market long, so that's so great to hear that you got your first role into cybersecurity. And yeah, let's kind of go ahead and get started. And if you guys remember Alex's backstory, I'll drop his previous video below. But Alex was in the Army Reserves as a military police officer, and once he kind of realized that he was wanting to do a career change, he began focusing on getting back into school, also trying to find a job specifically into a cyber-esque role, where I met Alex doing physical security at one of our data centers here locally in Arizona. And that's when the conversation kind of sprung of like, hey, I want to get into cyber. I'm like, well, hey, I'm part of a cyber protection team. You should come interview with us. And if you can maybe go from there, Alex, we can kind of start to check block the process or steps that if someone's in the Army Reserves that wants to kind of transition into that MOS, what's that look like?
So right off the bat, I actually was looking into it before I met you, which is part of the reason why I was at that data center. Is I was doing that transition job of finding something where it's I had physical security experience, but I wanted to start moving towards that tech field. And it was a great place to network. I got to meet tons of people, including you. But basically what I started with is I first as a prior service guy. So in the sense of I had my job already. I'd already gone through basic. I already got qualified. I was looking for a transition. So I went to my career counselor at my unit. I was like, hey, at the time I wanted to do 25 Delta, which is basically an older version of 17 Charlie. It's more focused at the battalion level, I believe. It was a staff sergeant above rank. I didn't know much about it, but I'm like, hey, this is the only cyber thing I can find. Mm-hmm. Talking with him though, my career counselor, he pointed me, he's like, well, there's actually this job that's for your level, because at the time I was a specialist, and he goes, it's called 17 Charlie. And I'm like, cool. I'm like, are there any units here in the state? And he goes, yeah, there's one. And I was like, all right, cool. Well, how do I get in contact with them? Do you just drop me over for my next contract? And he goes, no, you have to find a point of contact with them before you can transfer over. So, and I want to say maybe it was 2 weeks later, that's when I ran into you, and I'm like, this is perfect.
Speak of the devil. No, and that's it's funny, right? Because yeah, for 17 Charlies, it's odd. So it's changing slightly with the military. So if you're coming off the streets, getting into the Army Reserve, you can get placed into the CPTs without interviewing. So because they need a home, they're going to grab you, they'll throw you into an open seat, and then that's one way that we can kind of grow and also get folks that come into the military for the reserves. Now, if you're already prior servicer in the military, just like Alex mentioned, the process of going in and getting into the CPTs is a interview process where they need to make sure that you have a good clearance, you're willing to go away for, and we're going to get into this, about 8 to 9 months worth of training out in Georgia at Fort Gordon.
Mhm.
And there's that aptitude of being able to learn. And we'll probably hit up there next. So when it comes into becoming a 17 Charlie, there's a few certain line items or maybe test or certifications that some folks you'll need in order to get through the first few check boxes. One is having the correct ASVAB scores. That is we'll call that like the aptitude or college baseline test that you would take almost like an SAT that gives you certain line scores. And the two particular ones that are important are your GT score, your general technical score, which needs to be a 110, or the ST, which is the skilled technical score, which needs to be above a 112. Now, regardless of the rest of the process, it's mostly waiverable. So you can have experience over certifications, you can have education over certifications, you can have certifications over experience, and so on and so forth. You can also come in with 0 certifications. And when we gave Alex the chance to come over to the team, we gave him the challenge of, hey, look, and this is always case-by-case basis on what the interview and process wants to challenge you with in order to gauge commitment and kind of maybe the procedure of getting in. But we had him go get a Security Plus. And I think Alex, within like a month and a half, you came back, hey, I got my Sec Plus, and we pulled you over.
Yeah, and I will say too that like the unit wasn't just like like hey, like cut and dry of like we're just gonna go get this, talk to us when you get this. They also I was like, hey, do you guys have any resources I could have that like would help me with this? And you guys did provide me with a lot of resources. One of them was an app that was really good for studying, where it would give me, I set my test date and then it would give me questions from that test date to make sure I understood pretty much everything. Definitely was an interesting experience because I think it was my first, it was my first like real certification test too. I will also say too that like if you don't get certifications before you go as well, they do have the ability while you're in the schoolhouse to pursue certifications so long as you're keeping up to task and you are completing what you need to complete and showing them that, hey, like I'm performing way above what I need to be performing. I can also do the certification as well.
No, absolutely. So to kind of hit through our checkbox here so far. So first off, you want to get into cybersecurity. Second, if you're in the military, go talking to a career counselor and figuring out if there's a cyber protection team unit that is close by or near you. If you're not in the reserves already and you want to go 17 Charlie, it's simply just going to a recruiter and saying, hey, I want to go 17 Charlie and become a cyber operations specialist. Now, let's fast forward a little bit now where you're in the unit, you get approved, they clear you for your clearance, and we have a ship date, or now you're getting to go to AIT. AIT for 17 Charlie is fairly long. It is a PCS move. So depending on if you break it into 2 different type of attendance course dates that the reserves can do. But let's kind of talk about schoolhouse. So I know we've talked about this before, Alex, but the pace is relatively fast. And it's not that some folks fail due to not understanding. It's that they can fail if they're not up to a fast-paced learning environment. Does that make sense? Or maybe you can rephrase.
Yeah, it's so basically like one thing they tell you day one is if you fail out of the course, they're not saying you're stupid. They're just saying you can't learn at the pace that they need you to learn because obviously, as we've seen with cyber in general, it's a very fast and evolving it's a very fast and evolving field. Like there's always something new coming up. By the time someone puts a paper out on something, it's already considered obsolete. It's one of the most common phrases I've heard. So with it though, like definitely like it's a very fast-paced course. I recommend too splitting it up. If you're married, I definitely would advise just knocking out in one go and just getting it done. If you are single and you don't have any dependents, I would definitely say breaking it up into 2 phases. If you can, it's a pretty smart way to do it, especially because it gives you that time too to maybe like go back to your unit and get some more study time before you go back. But yeah, the first phase is definitely a lot of like how fast you can learn, and then it's basically trying to figure out like can you learn at the speed we need to, and then phase 2, that's where you're actually going to start putting it more into like practical, and that's where you start taking like all day tests.
Yeah.
And it's a lot more fun in phase 2, I will say, but phase 1 was a lot of like hitting the books and like figuring out what information to keep and what information to like pushed off to the sides because it's just trivia information.
Yeah, no. And I mean, I think one thing that you can even attest to too, Alex, is once you get into the unit, there were so many other resources as well that people will provide you and help you with training, prep to make sure you're ready to succeed by going to the course. Because yeah, the course is rigorous and it's not meant to be like you're either in or out or you get it or you don't. It's just exactly that. It's almost like the equivalence of learning a new language. And if you just can't keep up with the training, it can just start to pile up and things can get very difficult. Now, when you were there, obviously, and we're not going to go into the ones and zeros and the meat and potatoes of how the course is made, but would you recommend anyone obtaining any certifications or maybe fundamental knowledge? And if so, what before attending the course?
I would definitely say if you understand your basics of, Bash, Python, binary, hexadecimal, subnetting, like those are some big key ones that can help you a lot. Because a lot of where people struggle is that phase one of like you're getting so much information and you're taking a test pretty much every week. So it's something where a lot of people get burnt out. I saw people that had computer science degrees, like they were struggling because they had let those fundamentals slip. But
Yeah.
they did well in phase two, but those fundamentals kind of were slipping in phase one. And then I saw guys that were former infantry, rocking the course, or even like we had one guy, he was a parachute rigger, and he was amazing. He was one of our best students that we saw, like where he, obviously it wasn't his forte, but he knocked it out of the park every time.
That's awesome. And no, exactly that. I think having the right mindset and being able to hunker down, read through books, create flashcards. There is downtime. Like you and I were both at Fort Gordon at the same time during your AIT for 17 Charlie and myself for my Warrant Officer Basic course. And like you get weekends off. There's two kind of entities there within the schoolhouse. You have your Moss Eyes, which are your brand new folks going to basic training in AIT for the first time. And then you have your Moss T's, who are those that are like reclassing. They've been in the Army for a few years and they're just changing their MOS. Can you kind of maybe hit the quick highlights and high levels of maybe some of the freedoms you guys do get like on like weekends and kind of downtime and things that you're doing?
So for the Moss T population, obviously it's you're generally like given free, like you're able to do what you need to do. Like you don't have curfews. You just have to. Base thing is you need to show up to class, and you need to show up for accountability formation in the morning at like I think it's 4 or 5 a.m.
Yeah.
But basically, like you show up to that, but generally like too, like they'll let you PT on your own because obviously like you've been in the Army for long enough to where if you're not taking accountability of yourself for that physical fitness, you're going to be punished for that versus a lot of new guys in the Army. Obviously they want to hold your hand a little bit more because you're new. It's not, you're learning stuff. So the Moss Eyes, obviously they have their privilege system that TRADOC has across like the entire Army where they give them phase badges, they do certain things. And like, depending on time as well, like they can get freedom. I think they can get to a point where they can put in for a pass to go off post to do things. For myself as a Moss T, like one of the more common things I would do is me and this one guy we'd go up to Columbia and play Warhammer at a Warhammer store on holiday weekends. But yeah, generally it was a lot of just relaxing, studying sometimes. I didn't study too much outside of class because you get time in class to study. And I definitely think that a lot of people would burn themselves out and they actually hurt themselves by studying too much.
Yeah. Having that good, like you said, student mentality and just knowing how to balance time, and it helps out so much. And I think that's the nail on the head, Alex. Well, I appreciate having you back on the channel for this because I think it's a quick cut and dry of what do you need to do? What are the next steps? And we'll drop these all in the comments as well below. But yeah, please, if you're trying to reach out and wanting to join the Army Reserves or even the military, this is not a recruiting video, but yeah, if you're looking into getting into cyber and you want to go this route, not only is the Army a great path, like you have Space Force, Air Force, Navy, Coast Guard, everyone actually has a relatively great cyber branch that's willing to kind of get you in, and it's a great path to get started. I was just talking to Jason Dion this last week, and it's like only in the military can you say at the age of like 18 to 20 you're a sysadmin for a huge network, because being system admins or maybe like a huge domain like lead is usually for someone further in their career. So Alex, so glad we had you on the channel and to get back. I know you and I both are available for questions on our LinkedIn's and social medias that we'll drop as well in the comments below for anyone having any follow-up questions. But any last piece of advice that you give someone that's considering going 17 Charlie?
Definitely would recommend the Army because obviously the Army has a lot more positions for it and it's a lot easier to get into as long as you have the right stuff. Definitely study, definitely make sure you have good study habits because that was the biggest thing I saw. And, just keep taking it. It's a fun career. It's a fun place to be. It's definitely something where if you like to like work puzzles, it's a great place to be. So I would definitely recommend anyone that's got that mindset, and don't be afraid to tell your career counselor, your recruiter that this is specifically what you want and you're willing to put in the work. Um,
Yes.
Saw a lot of guys that were signaliers there. So like the signal guys, those 35 series where they were going for reclass school, because, or not, sorry, not 35, but like 25 series. They were going to reclass school there, or they were going to join, and they're like, oh, well, I wanted to go 17 series, but they told me it'd be too hard. And it's like, dude, you would have been perfect for it. Like I'm a former MP. And I got through this, like I'm almost done with this course right now. And, I was able to do it, and they just didn't know because there's a lot of misinformation about how selective it is, but it's
Yeah.
like if you've got the right stuff, like they'll take you and they will turn you into an amazing cyber operator.
Awesome, Alex. Well, everyone, thanks so much for sticking around. Drop your comments below if you have any follow-up questions on trying to become a 17 Charlie or 170 Alpha. And as always, we'll catch you on the next episode of Breaking into Cyber.